Hi, PerspectiveWeather.com meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Wednesday, July 29th. The main topic of the video discussion will be the tropical system that we've been monitoring for several days. Still not classified as a tropical storm, but I expect that to happen any moment now, maybe later this morning. If not this morning, certainly by midday or afternoon, it should become the 9th tropical storm of this relatively young Atlantic Basin season. It would become Isaias, the I storm, and again, that's the earliest ever recorded for the 9th system, besting the year 2005. In 2005, we had a very active season, kind of a record-breaking year. That was the year that featured Katrina. It was perhaps the most important storm of that particular year. And the 9th storm that season did not occur until the later stages of the first week of August, so we're ahead of that. Once this becomes a named system, and I expect that to happen later today. Here is the location of this tropical wave of interest right now. Notice, compared to yesterday morning, it's a little bit more symmetrical. It did undergo some intensification. It was stuck in a dry Saharan desert air mass yesterday morning. It tended to escape that drier air and is now in a more moist environment, a more favorable environment for intensification. Indeed, it was more disorganized, a little bit more elongated yesterday morning at this time compared to a more symmetrical look, and we'll see more concentric look to it over the next 12 to 24 hours as it moves to the west-northwest. Again, should impact Puerto Rico and then Haiti and the Dominican Republic, and likely end up going right perhaps into the Florida Straits or and right over the southern part of Florida by the latter part of the weekend. Maybe the Keys of Florida, southern part of Florida, still several days away for that, but we're looking at the latter stages of the weekend. Ultimately, there's a chance, in my opinion, that it rides up along the eastern seaboard and perhaps becomes a big rain event in the eastern U.S. during the early part of next week, and we'll talk about the reasons why I believe that over the next couple of minutes. First of all, before we leave this particular global mosaic here, this is a infrared satellite image right here. We see another wave way down in the southern part of the tropical Atlantic, and perhaps an even more impressive wave just now emerging off the west coast of Africa. Well, that global mosaic came from a University of Wisconsin website associated with CIMSS. Same website has this tool, which I think is a fabulous tool to use for monitoring tropical systems, for example. It's the total precipitable water. Another way of thinking of that is to see where the high moisture areas are, the high water vapor content. The higher the moisture, the more reds and yellows and oranges you see. Even very high moisture content, you see kind of a whitish appearance here. This is the moisture, a tremendous amount of moisture associated with the particular tropical wave we're monitoring here. So that does tell us it has the potential to dump a heavy amount of rainfall on some of these northern Caribbean islands on its way perhaps to the southern part of Florida. Again, very high moisture content. Again, yesterday this tropical wave was kind of in a dry environment. Saharan desert air pushed off the west coast of Africa last week and still resided as of yesterday morning in the central part of the Atlantic. And this tropical wave has now kind of escaped, moved out of that unfavorable environment into a more favorable environment for intensifications. Indeed, the winds picked up overnight, and it should reach tropical storm status later today. Meanwhile, not all that impressive with this wave down, way down in the deep southern part of the tropical Atlantic, but a lot of moisture right here along the west coast of Africa associated with that newly emerging wave. So that wave has a lot of potential in my opinion, but right now we're focused on this that should become the 9th tropical storm of the season. Well, here's the latest official forecast map of both the current location and the predicted trajectory of Isaias once it becomes a tropical storm. over the next several days. And it's right now like northeastern, extreme northeastern part of the Caribbean Sea. Notice the S first of all here. This is a designation that the National Hurricane Center puts out for tropical storm. If they believed it was going to intensify into a hurricane, you would see H's here. I think there's a very reasonable forecast here, and I'll tell you why. It looks like this system will certainly have an interaction with the island of Hispaniola, Haiti, Dominican Republic, and there are mountains on that particular island, rather high mountains. So typically, a tropical system tends to weaken as it moves over the high mountainous terrain of this particular island. This is kind of a saving geographical feature for southern Florida. Many systems end up weakening, or certainly only maintaining their strength and not intensifying once it goes over this particular island. And again, that tends to help out southern part of Florida in the sense that it reduces the time allowed for this system to intensify. It may, certainly it still is on the table that this intensifies into a hurricane by the time it reaches the Bahamas or the southern part of Florida, but it looks like it'll also travel over the mountainous terrain here, and that will certainly inhibit the intensification at least for a while here. So it's something to watch for. This is Puerto Rico, and certainly we'll get, as we saw with the high precipitable water, it looks like heavy rainfall is going to occur on Puerto Rico, Haiti, Dominican Republic. Again, a very moist weather pattern right now associated with that tropical system. Again, beyond this point, it's all speculation at this time, but it's possible what remains of the tropical storm may ride up along the eastern seaboard, maybe just inland, could cause a pretty good rain event up and down the east coast during the early part of next week. Way in the speculation stage, but we'll talk about why there's a potential for that over the next couple of minutes. Well, one of the things we emphasized in yesterday's video discussion was an upper level trough that will dig into the south central U.S. That unusually strong upper level trough will play a role in the ultimate path that this system takes. And let's take a look at the forecast mass from the ensemble run of the GFS last night at 6Z. First of all, we have a wave of low pressure aloft over the Great Lakes this morning. This is the wave of interest out here over the Rocky Mountains inlet. Now let's move forward here, and we'll kind of move quickly here in the initial period. Here we are by Friday morning. See this wave starting to intensify now into the heartland of the nation. Way down lower right here, we have kind of a reflection aloft. We're looking at 500 millibar height anomalies here. This is the reflection of the tropical system as of Friday morning. Now, let's move forward here and watch what happens, this upper level feature. Moving forward here, notice first of all, it intensifies, and also notice it doesn't move quickly. Here we are now by Sunday morning, still sitting over here. Now, here's the reflection of the tropical system at that time. Now, the operational GFS, the NOAA's official forecast track has it a little bit farther south and west, maybe over the Keys, west coast of Florida. Still too early for the details, but the main point I want to make here is that this upper level feature intensifies and slows down. That could allow the storm to take a little bit more of a southern and western track. Could also allow it to ride up right on the eastern side of this trough during the early part of next week. Let's move forward here all the way into Monday morning. Here is indeed that deep upper level trough, still situated over the south central states. It is a slow mover, unusually strong system. That tropical wave could very well end up moving along the eastern side of that trough and cause a rain event in the eastern U.S. during the early part of next week, after it arrives in somewhere in Florida, anywhere from the Keys to the East Coast. Maybe could stay off the East Coast, but again, with this thing kind of stalling out over the south central states, it allows for the possibility of a more southern and western track than what is depicted here by the ensemble run of the GFS. Well, now let's take a look at the operational run of the GFS. Those 500 millibar height anomalies were from the ensemble run. By the way, all these maps here from tropicaltidbits.com. relatively rain-free day in the Mid-Atlantic region today. Hot, once again, probably 90, 91, 92 degrees for highs in the D.C., Philadelphia, New York City corridor. Now let's kind of quickly move forward here. A little bit more unsettled conditions on Thursday and Friday, maybe even cooler on Friday. Highs probably confined to the 80s on Friday. Let's get all the way to Friday morning now. This is the Friday morning forecast map. And notice a little bit of low pressure off the Mid-Atlantic coastline. That'll help to push the frontal system a little farther to the south, causing a little bit of a cool down on Friday. Probably highs confined to the 80s in D.C., Philadelphia, New York City, after the 90s today and tomorrow. Notice here by Friday morning that GFS has the tropical system right here north of Cuba, headed for the Florida Straits. But also notice here out over the south central states a reflection at the surface. We saw that upper level, unusually strong upper level trough. Also a surface low with some precipitation in the form of rain over the south central states as of Friday morning. Let's move forward another 24 hours. Saturday morning, still sitting and spinning pretty much over the south central U.S. with that strong support in the upper part of the atmosphere. And here is the tropical system on the 6Z operational run. Again, whether or not it hits the Keys or the East Coast, still too early to say, but southern Florida definitely should be closely monitoring this situation. But the good news is that it very well could weaken some as it moves over those mountainous areas of the island of Hispaniola, Haiti, Dominican Republic. Let's continue to move forward here into Sunday. And here it is, right in the southern tip. Not all that strong though. Again, a good track in one sense, pushing it over the island of Hispaniola, which tends to weaken or certainly slows down the intensification. And here's that system that was over the south central states now moving over the Ohio Valley. And again, beyond this period, it's possible this could increase rainfall amounts up along the Atlantic seaboard during the early part of next week. It may get caught up in this upper level trough, and we'll just have to monitor that possibility over the next several days. But again, the main story is this tropical wave that should become the 9th tropical storm of the young tropical season here. Again, we ramp up going into the month of August. Still, we have a long way to go in this tropical season. It really tends to ramp up in the Atlantic Basin during the month of August, reaches a peak typically in the middle part of September, and then slowly ramps down during October. So a long way to go, and we'll monitor this particular system closely over the next several days. That's it for now. For PerspectiveWeather.com, I'm meteorologist Paul Dorian.